So we know that you guys have heard quite a bit today. And I'm sure that your notepads and your handouts are full of notes. We want to share with you some vision realization things that we've done. And at one point, I even thought we had lost our minds when we were doing some things at the same time or immediately one after the other, okay? And it does involve actually having some physical, tangible things being produced. And or to purchase things, it takes what? Amen. And we are so afraid of money at church, folks. Oh my God. But we supposed to know the one that owns everything, right? So we're going to share with you today a few of those vision realization projects that we were able to bring to life by faith and strategy. You hear what I said? Faith and strategy. And strategy is just as holy as communion. Amen? Yes, yes. I think it should be one of our sacraments. What y'all think? Okay, so we're going to talk about that now. We'll start out with myself and Ola coming to join us. So there are, as I said before, some projects. Now, in 2014, we moved into our current location. And those that have been to our campus, we're in an old warehouse, right, that we redeveloped. And you wouldn't know it. It's a church because once you get to the corner, you just see an industrial area, and an orange sign is on the corner. It says Impact Church, and so it is a warehouse and 76,000 square feet. We have 600 parking spots. It's on 10 acres of land, really more 10 acres of concrete. Okay, so it's a large facility, and we at the time had only really built out about 25,000. Square feet of this particular 76,000. So we moved in May 4th, 2014. We were celebrating, having a great time. And then we received the vision that we needed to develop another location on the property. And it was an ideal location because it was going to be easy to develop because it didn't take a lot of roof issues and things like that. We didn't have to remediate some environmental things. It was easy. But we had just come off a capital campaign. You know, we just asked the folks for money to go into the building, and we still had debt that we owed on the building. So, but we got this vision. Let's develop what we call Building A, which is our youth space. Now, mind you, within the 25,000 square feet, approximately about 60% of that belongs to youth and children already. And so we had the vision, let's separate high school from middle. Not only that, at the time our volunteers had nowhere to go. So you heard Olu say that our volunteers, along with staff on Sunday mornings, arrive at 7 a.m. Yes, they do arrive at 7. But they had nowhere to hang out. So you would go and serve for the full day, and you hanging out in the lobby with everybody else. So we had to also develop a volunteer space for the volunteers to go and just kind of hang out. That's their space. So you're going to see that here today, along with the other vision reality that we wanted to start bringing our college students to church. We wanted to go pick them up and bring them to church. So you heard when I said that we had just come off a capital campaign, that we did not quite complete. Yeah, we weren't done. We just moved in the building. And then we received this vision to build out an additional, what you think that is, about 11,000 Building A? About 5,000 square feet. And then we had that vision. Then we had the vision to buy a van. All right? So the Lord just sending visions. And so we had to have a strategy of how we do it. We don't have our clicker, so I'll go back and forth. And so when it came to the transportation, we had a gentleman. Remember I talked about you utilizing your resources? So we had a gentleman that retired from MARTA, which is the public transit. He was a bus driver. From there, he was a trainer, okay? And so he was not engaged. And Olu had a conversation with him about what? Come, let me show you how to do what? Be fishers of who? Right, he was fishing who? Fishing on large buses. So you knew he knew how to drive. So you had the conversation. So Olu saw an opportunity, watched him, and engaged him in the conversation. So we then started this transportation team. So, you know, I know Ted probably thought we had lost our mind. He's a finance guy. So we launched this vision. And I'm going to show you a video in just a little bit about how we launched it. We created a video. We made the ask. We had this vision about a van. And not just any van. You see what kind of vans they are, right? I tell you a funny story. When we were first looking for a van, I bought the regular church van. I was about to buy. Olu said, no, Don. We got Chris Cross on the vision, he and I. That was okay. I just said okay. We sat back down, went back, went out. We got the right vans. Okay, so sometimes it happens. It's okay. It's not personal, right? This is God's vision anyway. This is what we came up with. So we launched the vision, found out the price of it, and what would happen is this. Somebody was so excited about the work of picking up college students. Guess what they did? Donated an entire brand new van. Can y'all believe that? Yeah. Simply wrote a check. And so, I just love the vision. I donated. And then we have another van. We have 3 vans. They look all just like that. Ted, how long did it take us?
So we started working on this, I want to say May, and by December we had 3 vans. Wow. Yeah, by that December.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a testimony. My son he's a student at Morehouse, and he's one of the first students who got a ride in those vans, and he works in ministry.
All right, you hear that? Did y'all hear that testimony? Her son went to Morehouse, and he was one of the first students to get a ride on one of those vans. Look at God. Yes, that was God. So what I'm telling you is that when somebody comes to you with a vision, let them run with it. Support it. It was a part of the larger vision of your church. Support it. So we showed this video.
Impact offers an opportunity for them to just get back in touch.
We provide an avenue for them to worship, try to get in touch with their spirituality, and to have a social outlet on Sunday.
That spiritual connection, I think, is integral. It really pulls kind of all the work that we do together. It gives it a different kind of purpose. Whenever we can provide a warm, safe ride to church and a meal for them, I mean, it's everything. It's a way to get their week started.
We pick up at which is the restaurant on the Morehouse campus. We pick up at CAU front gate. We also pick up at Georgia State at Patton Hall in the Common.
Every week, this is something they can rely on no matter what. They know they can depend on the transportation.
The lady driving the van is a college professor at Morehouse College campus. Use your resources. So what questions do you have for us about how we got this done? What questions do you have? Because I believe there are some transportation ministries in this room today. They are, yes, we owe no debt on the vans. As Ted said, by December, go ahead, Ted.
Yeah. By December, we started this campaign in May, and by December we had 3 fully paid for vans.
You had one gift.
So one person, we did a campaign, we asked for people to make pledges to help buy one van. And then one person who attends Impact decided that she would pay for one herself. And so through the pledges and the payments of the pledges, we got enough to do 2 additional vans. So that's how we got to 3. But we started with just thinking 1. Yeah, but
15. Yes. And you don't have to have a Class C. No, just it's a regular. Yes, sir.
So this question is a little bit bigger, I think, than the vans, but I noticed your verbiage. You said whenever
And I was intentional about saying that. Really, it takes getting to know one another. It takes some time to be there. You have to be mature as well, and you have to be clear about what your role is within that ministry. You have to be clear about that. Can I say that some days we're in a room together, and I call it the war room, and we're going forward, and it's passion. It's not disrespectful. It's not, because visionaries. He's been a visionary. I've been knowing only 12 years. He's not going to change. He's a visionary. And you need visionaries, you need executioners as well, right? Somebody has to execute the vision, implement it. So it takes both. And it's important that you know your role and that you're mature people in order to be able to understand what direction you're going in. It doesn't mean that we don't listen to one another, because we do, because we all have something to bring to the table. At the same time, it's much larger than us. And are we meeting the need? Are we putting the impact customer in mind first?
And I would add to what Don is saying, that we get away from our environment so that we can hear God. So one time I had a meeting at my building that I live in. We did a devotional outside at the pool, and it was so peaceful. We were surrounded in trees. And we spent that whole day away, ideating and just listening to God. In November, we also went away to Berry, Georgia, which is about an hour and a half outside of Atlanta, to a Chick-fil-A old facility that they had. And we just went out there as well. And you're in these serene, peaceful environments where you can just take time away from hearing noise so that you can hear God. So if you want to hear the vision, sometimes you got to get quiet so that you can hear God speak to you.
And that was a really interesting retreat we went to, because we were the leaders of that retreat, and we all led a certain portion. And we came out of that retreat with some tough decisions, but we had peace about them. The other thing is, pastors and leaders, be comfortable receiving visions from your team members and your leaders. Be comfortable receiving that, because you guys spend time together, and so the Lord speaks to everybody that's part of that team. So be comfortable listening, and they'll bring some things to you. But it takes a little bit of time. You have to be mature. And Ted said we get away quite a bit. And does it cost us? Yes, it does. But you put that as part of your budget. You're making an investment in your team. Well, yes, ma'am. It's a great question. The gentleman you saw that was doing most of the talking, he's no longer with us. He's passed away. And that's the man I talked about that Olu had a conversation with about leading this team, okay? So in the beginning, we had him, and he was passionate, and he did the Jesus model, and he recruited people like nobody's business. And he would stand outside when people were walking. You saw our parking lot, right? People walking up to the church. He would stand outside and talk with them and ask them about themselves. And he shared the vision, and they signed up. Some were drivers, some were what we call monitors. So they were on the van just to monitor and talk with the youth that are on the van. So we did it both at the same time. But he gathered them together. He trained them. I mean, I'm going to tell you something. You don't get in that van without training. Mr. Larry didn't play that. You had cones. You had a training course. Oh, serious. He was serious about his ministry. And he created books. And so when he passed away, he identified 2 leaders that could take it on. And they've taken it on. And they've identified leaders. So you do it both, and we're constantly recruiting. It doesn't stop. We're always recruiting for them for either drivers or mentors. We even expanded it where now we go to a certain apartment complex and pick up the young people on a Sunday. So a lady came. This is ministry. Remember, the vision was about 1 van. We ended up with 3. We were going for the college students. And not only that, we rent our vans out. Look at God. That's revenue. So you have to get beyond just the offering plate and tithes. We rent them out. Yes, we have an event center also. So if you rent our event center, like for a conference like this, we hold conferences for churches all the time. And you stand at the airport and you need a shuttle from your hotel. Guess what? We got 3 vans and very trained drivers. We'll be happy to shuttle you back and forth for a reasonable rate. Yes. So it is recruiting all the time. It's ongoing. You don't stop. And we do drivers records. We do all of that background checks on the drivers. They feed the college, so you'll see that video a little bit later. We feed the college students. The team gets together. The drivers, they get together and talk about the things that need to be done differently. They make sure we keep the vans clean because we use them during the week, and we fill out the books. I mean, if the book is not filled out, it's a problem. Like, Jesus is about to come if you don't fill out the transportation book. So, but it's serious. Any other questions?
If I can add to what you were saying, sometimes you got to start with baby steps. So we were renting vans, one van first, to pick up college students. So we wanted to do this, and that was on our heart. Sometimes you got to be able to demonstrate to donors that you're serious about it and you've started doing the work. So we went from renting to owning 3 within the same year. So if you can't start off by purchasing one, you can rent. And then sometimes the rental companies will give you a break if you tell them what you're doing, picking up college students.
Any other questions? Okay, so we'll go to the next thing. So as Olu mentioned, we are constantly going out. Terry Perry. Sorry. All right, thank you. So we're constantly visiting other places, other churches, organizations, corporations, just whatever, because of the fact you have resources sitting in your congregation. And what it does, once again, is open up our eyes to be able to see so many different things. So there was a contact with another person that knows Tyler Perry. And Olu is he likes big movie stars. That's our pastor. He's our leader. He does. We all like him, right? I mean, we had Rick Fox to come to Impact Church. They shoot, what's the name? Greenleaf. They did a couple of scenes of Greenleaf at our church. You know the Contemporary Church? That was an Impact Church, okay? And Rick Fox came, girl, we didn't do no work that day. We was all in the lobby.
He's just another brother. Yeah, another brother.
I mean, Olu couldn't get anybody that danced that day. We had to go into the main auditorium for something that day. But yes, so Rick Fox was in the house that day. But what I'm saying is that you have so many resources sitting in your pews Sunday after Sunday. So we made the connect. And Olu, you want to share a little bit about that, about the connect you made?
So what happens a lot, what they say, how many degrees separation from someone? 7. Six, yeah. And I mean, even in this room now, each of you have relationships with people, and that's why I'm learning more so, and I've learned this all my life being from a small town, never underestimate anyone. And typically it's the person that you underestimate who is the really gatekeeper to everything. So there was a connection to Tyler Perry via a person, and we reached out to this person only via text message. A very nice individual, and finally we were able to set up a tour. And they don't have their grand opening until October of this year. And so we understand we were one of the very few people who were able to do it. And so we toured their whole facility. And just to imagine Tyler Perry going from homelessness to where he is now, he had built 11 studios on that property, and all were filled. Sunday's Best was taping with Kirk Franklin, and so many other things were going on. And that was just the space that he rents out to other motion pictures. And he had a whole nother resource area for his filming and his area that he didn't rent out. But it was truly an amazing, amazing, amazing tour. And I left thinking no small vision, no small vision. And so thanks be to God from one of our impactors who made the connection to one of his key staff persons.
And it was fascinating to see, if you watch the Have and the Have-Nots, there are like 3 houses on there. All of those is one house with 3 different sides when you go see the set. So there's a lot of interesting things like that we did see as well. But it sits on 300 acres. So it really is an amazing experience, and they don't give tours a lot as well. And so we also went back for the filming of Sunday's Best, and Fantasia was one of the performers that night as well.
You have any questions about that?
And that's an example. So we also do that with restaurants and any other thing. So it happens to us, and people say, new church, and I always tell people, people are people, as I mentioned earlier. And you can say blue, but hearing somebody else say blue, it's fantastic now. And the same thing happens to us as leaders. So if there's a new restaurant opening or a restaurant where hospitality was great, we'll ask that restaurant manager, can we have our volunteer meeting here? And while we're here, can someone from your team talk about your core values? And so we could talk about those things internally, but being in community and hearing someone else say it, it makes a tremendous difference.
And you'll find that they're excited to share their stories. Where do we go? Grubhub?
Yep, a restaurant called Grubhub. Mm-hmm.
They opened up early for us. And it's a burger place. They opened up early, and the staff were there, and the guy came out and shared the story and gave everybody coupons. So it was great. It was a great environment. So use your resources. So this is another place we visited. It's called Central Atlanta Props. So it is really probably about, 2 miles from our property? We had no idea. 2 miles. And the man has junk that he is making a mint off of. And it's 2 miles from our property. And so we visited them, and they had a little bit of everything in there. I mean, every single thing you could think of. The same way Ted talked about the studios, somebody has to put those items in that house, right? Comes from this prop place.
And that's the largest in the Southeast. You know, a lot of filming is done in Georgia, but props from his company went into Black Panther. Also, some of the scenes from Black Panther were shot at Tyler Perry Studios. So it's one example of what we have here in Atlanta, but what's so amazing with the areas and the regions y'all are from, there are just so many natural resources that you have. And oftentimes in the church, we don't think about it. And I find even lay people who work around these environments don't think about bringing those environments to their local church. So it's a great amenity opportunity.
One thing we thought about, and we do a lot of sermon series, right? We do a lot of props at Impact. So they had some baskets, like a regular shopping basket. You know how they used to be when you go outside and you put it in the shopping cart, right? So they had their whole setup there. So that could be a great sermon series, like what's in your cart, what's in your basket, but you bring the whole device as your prop to really give people a visualization of what you're talking about. The different types of washing machines that you see there. So it's so much you could do. We do a lot of props, and we need to bring things in to make the point visually of what you're talking about. We actually brought in one of those, what you call a phone? Rotary phones. And our children's pastor took it into her room. And the kids had no idea what that was. So it was interesting. So we are inviting our team, right? Our leaders. Go to the prop place. You have a budget, go have a conversation and use this. Not just for a special occasion, just use them, to make your point across.
And this place is over 250,000 square feet, so it is enormous with all kind of stuff in there, period pieces and anything you can imagine, stuffed animals, stuffed bear. I wouldn't let her show it, but I had a picture with a stuffed bear I took. So just all kind of fun stuff there that you can use for a sermon.
And so to give you a kind of idea of 200,000 square feet, if you leave this room and when you go to the exit door, that's probably about 200,000 square feet. And so imagine a space filled with everything you can imagine that can be used.
Any questions?
Depends. So you could take your administrative board, you can take your church council. Each of our churches vary in size. You may have very key volunteers that are differently engaged in the life of your church in different ways. So every group is different, but in each case, we're casting vision and trying to bring people into a deeper relationship with the life of our church to help us achieve our mission.
And there was about 12 of us that day that visited. Just being creative. How can we use this resource? Yeah, to make Sunday more interesting.
And we're also we're learning all the time, and there's a new person who's helping to coach us up around some different areas to say, before you take these trips, develop an expectation list from your team members. And that's helping us go with a different eye. Because you may take some people and they just think, hey, this is a fun trip, but no, this is an investment where we need you to bring something back. And the biggest thing, we need people to develop relationships with the people so that they in turn can bring those relationships back and they can bear fruit in the ministry.
And also, and don't just think about your, I'll call it play area, just inside the church. Think about your entire property. So maybe we'll have a theme about the wilderness, and we go to the prop store and get this big bird and we put it on the corner of our church. People are like, what they doing with this big bird? Well, they might be interested to know enough to come in. So think about just your entire property as a place to play and be creative and to get attention. Remember earlier we said that we can no longer just put a sign outside of our churches. It has to be something that's going to grab their attention. And I don't believe these things are just for corporate America to do. I think that we have access to them just like Apple, Walmart, Amazon. I mean, I think it's very important for us to be creative with everything. But these are just places that we go, and we want to share that with you. We have one more.
We're working on 4:15. What time is it now?
4.
All right. We're going to make it work.
This was the concept for Building A, as we call it. And it's our youth and volunteer space. So this is what our architect designed for us. And I don't have my clicker here, but if you look at the so you will enter here. This is the space, come on, this is the space. We have restrooms, and over here is what we call our volunteer space. And out here you will see what I call Miami Way. This is outdoors. It's like a patio area as well. So this is the second thing that we had to raise funds for. And we had literally really had just come off the campaign, and we had to raise some money for this. And I know Ted thought we had lost our mind again, but people gave to it. Once again, we had to have a space for our volunteers for them to chill out. And we wanted to separate high school and middle school. Those are two totally different groups. We wanted to separate them. So this first image right here will show you what it looked like. That is what we call the actual worship side of it. This is when it was in construction. This is what it looks like today. And that just shows you how drastically different. Cement floors. And we flip it and use it for a little bit of everything as well. Down here shows you the outside called the Miami Way. This is what it looks like. So you got colorful pillars. You can see that we use colorful umbrellas and things. So it's very versatile as well. And then I'll show you a video that'll show you the volunteer side of it. So Ted, share with us how much this particular project cost us.
Okay. And then in terms of the order of raising funds, I want to share that first. So we did a campaign, a capital campaign called I Share, We Impact. It was a 3-year capital campaign to actually purchase the property. And as soon as we finished that and moved in, we went into this campaign, the Next G campaign, to do this. And this was a $170,000 campaign. And as soon as we finished that campaign, we went into the private phase of More Than Possible, which is our capital campaign to finish the build out of the space. And then between having started that private phase, we got the vision to do the van generosity campaign.
That vision.
And so I was like, people are going to have fatigue, giving fatigue, if we keep having these campaigns. But I mean, I'm here to tell you that we got 3 vans. We got this space built out. And More Than Possible has generated more funds than I share We Impact, and we're still in that. So, I'm a finance person. I give a little attention, but then I put on the marketing hat and get on board, and then so it all kind of works together. It really does.
And I'll be honest with you, out of all the things that I do as a pastor, and I know each of you are pastors, Dawn and I are pastors, one of the hardest things is raising money. And it does not come naturally, and I admire people who do that very naturally, but it is not easy. So I don't want any of you to think, hey, we're in Atlanta, 6 million people, we could raise that too. People are people, and money is money. And so, a friend of mine at a church in Lufkin, they're doing a campaign for $250,000, and you can go to Raleigh, and they may be doing a campaign for $500,000. But it is still very difficult regardless of where you are, and particularly in these economic times. So be encouraged as you are trusting God for whatever your next is, and know it is not easy for any of us out here, but it is possible.
And just start with your vision and not desperation. That has helped us to be most successful, is talking about vision and how is it going to change someone's life. Not just another check to say, oh, we've done X, but how will it change and affect someone's life, someone's future.
I notice that a lot of it's very intentional, and that's very encouraging. What about those with special needs? Which churches struggle with those, say, well, they're not going to come to church, but yet have they reached out for them? Autism, all those.
It's a great question. And we have not done the best when it comes to that. We are just now rounding the corner for that. And that's because we have a great children's leader who is very experienced with special needs and just the whole educational arena for children. What she has done was identify someone, once again, that's a part of our congregation that's going to do some training. We have to be clear about what that looks like. She reached out to this person. They said, hey, we'll do some training. And right now, even in those spaces, the youth and children spaces, they now have identified some things they could do to help those children that have some special needs, and how we have to address them differently, and how we have to help even our volunteers be able to identify. Because sometimes parents may not want to tell you their child's special needs. Or maybe they don't even know their child's special needs. But if you can see and there are signs are there, just another way to be in ministry with that family. And so we'll just now really rounding the corner for that. So it's a great question.
And I would add, too, that Impact's vision was to be a multicultural gathering of people committed to Christ's work in the world. We recently changed that and went through a whole, what we call the SAM process, strategic articulation map. And now our vision is to be an inclusive gathering of people committed to doing Christ's work in the world. And as a team, we came together to define what inclusive meant, because that can mean different things for different people. But special needs was one of those things that we identified. So we're very intentional now and sensitive to the fact that there are people with special needs, and we will provide ministry to them as well.
You know, we have programs on silence the shame for mental health, and we preach about it. So it's very important that we do it. I'm going to show a video, and then we'll be open. Let's believe the Lord this is going to work. And so this is where our finance team fed the college students. But the whole idea is to show you how it all comes together. So, and Ted, they reached out to an Impact that owned his own restaurant, and they gave us a discount to be able to feed them. You'll also be able to see the images of the volunteer space. And look at all the young students, college students. So that's the volunteer space.
And that's me teaching. I'll tell you about it.
So you see we can put tables in there, it has soft seating. We also have a closet that you can't see You might have saw the door, but it has a washer and dryer. So let's say if there's a college student that has, they need to be able to wash their clothes. You know, it happens. So we have washer and dryers on campus to be able to give them access to be able to wash their clothes. So right there in that same area. So guys, we probably have like 2 minutes left. This is your time to ask us any more questions about what we're doing, how we did it. Go ahead.
So when you saw me talking, we were feeding the college students, but I also wanted to feed their minds as well. And I thought, what is the most impactful thing we can do for a young person? And for me, it was to teach them the concept of time value of money and compounded interest. So if they started investing as soon as they got out of college, they could become millionaires before 40. And so we were teaching them that concept. And then we also gave them a handout to take with them to share it with somebody else. And that's the fiscally fit ministry and holistic salvation that we do. So we want to, save their souls, minister to that, but we also want to minister to their future, their finances as well, because God didn't mean for us to be poor at all.
So what questions do you guys have for us about any of these visions, projects that we've brought to life? And I know the pictures make them sound like, oh, we just woke up and boom, it happened. It really didn't. We had to get permits and have different kind of conversations and trust God that when the giving was slow, they would still come in. We had to have conversations with people that didn't believe in it as well. But you still cast vision and go down the road. And I heard a very wise pastor say one time, well, sometimes you got to pastor people and bring the other ones down the road with you. So we had to do some of that. Even sometimes your staff and your closest people to you got to just pastor them along the way.
Can you speak to any of the connectional, do you do any connectional ministry with the other churches in Atlanta, I know you're new, 12 years old now, but can you talk about the connectional way? I do remember, actually, when I was in seminary, Cascade, Ben Hill, and Owsley worked closely together to do some kinds of things, but that was, I ain't gonna tell my age, but that was a long time ago. So do you all do any collaboration now among the?
We do, and we try to do some programmatically, but also undercurrent, we're working on a project with Cascade and Ben Hill because we all have supplies that we buy for our churches, such as toilet tissue and paper towel, but we all buy individually. So we're working on a project now where we can come together and save money by buying from a particular vendor, driving that price down. And so that's one of the ways that we're trying to connect. In addition, revivals and things of that sort, Christmas, Easter, all those things are important, but we also want to be connected in a way that helps to enhance and change the economics of the community. So we are open to it.
Your church is massive, but for those of us that are here,
Yes.
that have smaller churches.
I would add, too, one other thing that we do is the 7 last words of Christ for Good Friday, and there are 7 churches. It travels from church to church each year, and we participate in that as well. And Ben Hill had a problem with their nursery, and we opened up our doors so that they can come and have their nursery at Impact. And we did not charge them at all. So, we're constantly looking and giving.
And one last example, I want us to honor our time. Reverend Schuler and Bishop Holster, would y'all come on up and close this out? Because we want you to come back tomorrow. But another suggestion related to the cooperative would be around what one church does well and the other church may not. So, for instance, everybody doesn't need to have Vacation Bible School. Why can't one of us host it and then you host another event? So, yes. Mm. Yes, Dr. Rodney Smothers, one of my mentors. We're going to be here after we close, and as we talk about tomorrow, I know you'll be given more directions, but we're going to do 2 final installments in the morning, and I think the same way this blessed you today, that will also help you and bless you as well. It's been a pleasure being able to share with you and share our stories. We are growing and learning together. I'll be back at the book table with the resources, and please engage us after the experience. We want to turn it back over. Thank you so much.